Hi, this is Becky Nunn with Nunn Design, filming a faux porcelain look here at Beadaholique. How we're going to create this faux porcelain look is we're going to be using a transfer sheet over crystal clay to create the look that you're seeing here. What you'll need is crystal clay, and I've already pinched off equal size balls and mixed it together to create an unmarbled white crystal clay. You'll need some gel de Soleil. This is a UV resin that cures in 20 minutes when it's exposed to UV light, and the UV light is what will provide that curing source. You'll also need a transfer sheet, a small dish of water, paper towels, an undesigned bezel, and some scissors and a Q-tip. I went ahead and cut a small image that's going to fit fairly snugly right on the top of this bezel right here. Once you have your image cut out, you're going to want to go ahead and place into your bezel your epoxy clay. I already knew intuitively that that was probably going to be too much clay, so I pinched a little bit off. But if it isn't enough, I can always add more, and if it is too much, I can pinch it off and take some away. But I don't know, over time you just kind of get used to knowing the feel of it, and I pinched off just the right amount. But I'd love to show you just what would happen if you pinched off too much. You would just have a much higher surface, and I don't want to have a really high surface because I'm going to be pouring the gel de Soleil on over the piece, and I don't want it to be flowing over the sides. So if you do put too much in, you just pinch it off like such and remove it, and then go ahead and pat it down. And in the squares is a little bit more tricky, especially on this bezel that has this nice rope pattern. You want to make sure that you don't put in too much because it's easy to get a lot of clay trapped into those sides. So my policy is always put in less than you think you're going to need, because it's much easier to add than to clean it up or subtract it. So I put enough in just so I have a nice surface kind of right underneath that edged area. Then I'm going to go ahead, these transfer sheets, they're printed on a film back, and how you release the film from the back is by dropping them into water, and the film releases from the paper back. So go ahead and drop that into your water, and it takes about 30 seconds for that paper back to release from the film front. It'll start to curl up like a little potato chip, and then it'll start to flatten out, and then you'll see exactly what I'm talking about as far as when it's ready to release. In the meantime, I have a paper towel here, and I have a Q-tip ready so that when that comes out, I'll lay it right on top of there. Another thing we can get ready while that is releasing is our gel. I like to pop the top off of mine because it just makes it easier to pour. So just take the lid off and then remove this top right here. Now our piece here should be ready, and it is. See how the film is separated from that paper back right there? So I keep that paper in place, and I'm just going to dry it off real briefly onto my paper towel. And I'm also getting the extra moisture from the water off of my fingers. Now we're ready to slide this. So think about, how are you going to use this image? Is she going to be this way or this way? Not such a great difference with this image, but you're going to want to think about the orientation of your piece as you lay your film. So my film, I just kind of lined it up into the corner. You can see how that paper back is kind of sticking out. Then you just remove it, and the film stays onto the clay. And you can see it's not a perfect flush cut, but it looks really nice. Then with your Q-tip, you can go ahead and just lightly burnish the film down onto the clay. Then you're just going to want to let that sit. You have about 90 to 120 minutes to work with this clay before it starts to harden. So just wait about 90 minutes and then you'll be ready to do the next step. Here's some pieces that I already let dry, and you can see how they come out. So about 90 minutes afterwards, that clay is rock hard. Before, you're going to want to make sure that you wipe all of that excess clay, if you had any on there, off before it starts to harden, because it's like cement when you let it sit too long. Then once it's cured, you're going to take your UV, and you notice how I'm holding it by that one loop. I'm keeping my fingertips away from the sides. I just spilled some. I over poured, but check this out. All you need to do is use your, if you have a toothpick or a head pin, I'm just pouring some up off of those sides. And I'm just going to focus on moving that gel around with my toothpick. Another thing that you can do is you can keep it flat on a surface and put it on a business card if you have a business card, and that way it'll be easy to transfer it into the gel light. So go ahead and just move your gel de Soleil around to the side edges. I'm having a hard time seeing this, so I am going to go ahead and drop it down onto a business card. And I'm actually going all the way to the outside edge of the resin of the piece. I'm not trying to stay with it in where the clay is. I'm going all the way out to those side edges. And it's nice when it's on this business card because it's easy to rotate around. If you didn't put enough resin in, you can go ahead and add a drop more if you want to have a really high dome gloss. But if you just want to have the amount that's just enough to give it a nice glossy look, you're going to want to take a look to see that you don't have any kind of air bubbles. And when I picked that back up, I noticed that it was kind of wicking away from the sides. So I am going to add a small amount more. And that will help push that resin to the sides and have it stay there instead of wicking back up to the center. Alright, so once that's all ready to go, you're going to want to turn your UV light on. And the UV resin, it cures instantaneously. So you want to go ahead and make sure that you're all ready before you bring it over there to the light, because it freezes kind of like, it cures like ice freezes from the very top surface down. So the moment it gets exposed to that light is when it'll start to cure. So bring it on over and place it in the UV light, and you have 20 minutes until it's done. Once your pieces are cured, about 20 minutes later, you'll pull them out of the UV lamp. And this is an example of pieces that I've already done. And you can see that it's a nice gloss, giving it that faux porcelain look. This is Becky Nunn of Nunn Design here on location at Beadaholique, showing how to make a faux porcelain look using crystal clay, transfer sheets, and UV resin. Thanks for joining me.